So you have been thinking of moving to Waterloo, Ontario? Well, I'm not here to burst your bubble, but in this video, I am going to share 10 reasons why Waterloo may not be the best fit for you and your family. Some of these reasons are the ones shared by my past clients who are currently living in Waterloo, and I'll share my 2 cents too. Living in Kitchener, very close to Waterloo, I'll give you some hands-on perspective. At the very least, it'll help you aid your decision making to help you decide whether it's Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, which town might be the right one for you. So stick around as we get right into it. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Kitchener, Cambridge and Waterloo, then subscribe below and tap on that bell for notification so you can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener. My name is Dixit. I'm a local real estate agent serving Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo and surrounding areas. I do get calls, text, emails from people just like you who are looking for help in making their move in and around Kitchener, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, be sure to reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or you can even schedule a Zoom call. All the info you will find right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener. Let's talk about the location of Waterloo, Ontario. If you were to look it up on map, one thing you might notice is Waterloo is one of those towns that's located further inward within the region. So first, if you were to head from, Greater Toronto area to this side, you will approach Cambridge, then Kitchener, and then further down, you will approach Waterloo. Now think about the other way around. If you have to commute back to the Greater Toronto area, unlike Cambridge or Kitchener, many parts of these both towns have direct access to the Highway 401. Unlike that, Waterloo, you will have to take Highway 85 southbound, which is also known as Conestoga Parkway, or you might need to head down King Street to get you to Highway 401. So it doesn't have a direct access to one of the major highways, which can make commute back to east a little bit tricky and more so tedious at times as well because of the traffic, which I'll get to in a bit. But just keep that in mind. Also the fact that Waterloo is landlocked. I mean, that goes for the whole region. We are not blessed with the lakefront, beautiful lakefronts that our neighbors down east in Mississauga, Burlington, Oakville, Hamilton, Toronto, those people enjoy, the residents of those towns. Unlike that, we don't have, lake waters in a close proximity of the Waterloo. So we are pretty much landlocked. We do have Grand River that flows throughout the region, and we have some beautiful riverbanks and the parks located around it. But, that's a bit about it. But if you are a lake person and enjoy being around the lakes, and if you're moving from one of those towns, you do want to reconsider your thoughts as to, for 2 reasons I just mentioned. Are you going to have to commute a lot to further east to Greater Toronto area? Then you might have to go a little bit inward before you go on the major Highway 401. And second one is the fact that you are not going to have those beautiful lake waters to enjoy while living here in Waterloo, as we are pretty much landlocked. Now, further building onto what I mentioned earlier, traffic scenes can be pretty challenging in Waterloo to get you, out of the city and around the city. So, some of the highways I mentioned earlier, like if you were to take Highway 85, trying to get out of the city, or even the interior streets, some of the major ones like Weber Street or King Street, or anywhere around that uptown Waterloo area or the university area, well, it's going to be a challenge. You will definitely find a decent amount of traffic. Worth noting that Waterloo is a commuter town, so what you'll find is many people actually do commute to Waterloo for work. So especially during those peak hours, getting in and out of the city can be a challenge. But at the same time, the ongoing construction that's been going on in the city, the condo developments that's been going around the university area and the core of the city, and at the same time, the amount of other construction activities we have going on within the city can make it a bit more challenging, to get you around and out of the city. But hey, if you're moving from one of those bigger towns like Toronto or one of those GTA suburbs, I can tell you it won't be as bad. But just keep in mind, we do have our fair share of traffic here in Waterloo, so just prepare for that. One of the other things you will note here as you start hunting for your home in Waterloo is the fact that Waterloo is filled with a lot of dated construction. So if you're looking for a condo developments, definitely your options are plenty in terms of finding something new. But other than that, Waterloo has mainly, developed vertically over the past few years. You will not find a lot of townhomes or detached home developments other than a few pockets such as Laurelwood or Vista Hills. These are the couple of pockets along the border of Kitchener and Waterloo. But other than those few exceptions, you will come across a lot of dated real estate in Waterloo as you start hunting for a home. So just bear in mind that you might have to settle for a construction that's slightly older living in Waterloo. In comparison to that, in Kitchener, you will definitely get far more options, especially for newer homes. And Cambridge will give you a decent amount of options too. But Waterloo, your options will be limited when it comes to the newer homes. The job market in Waterloo is not as diverse as you would think. Now, primarily, we are the IT ecosystem of the North, and we are known as the Silicon Valley of the North as a region. Having said that, Waterloo town in particular, we do have a lot of IT firms as well as some of the other primary occupations. So your chances of finding work locally in the town might be limited. Now, having said that, it's highly likely that you might have to commute outside in the neighboring towns to Kitchener or to Cambridge, which will be about 20 to 25 minutes commute. And that's what we typically see other way around as well. People living in Cambridge, Kitchener, or even Guelph for that matter, will commute to Waterloo to find work. As I mentioned earlier, it is a commuter town after all. So that's what you typically see. The job opportunities are there, but they're not as diverse. But on the other hand, you will have a lot of student population competing for those entry-level jobs. So especially if you are someone looking to get into those entry-level jobs, the fact that we do house two major university and a college in the town of Waterloo, you're gonna face a tough competition from the local student population, especially for those retail and some of those entry-level jobs which they are trying to get into. So it can be a tough cookie to bite. The cost of living in Waterloo is no longer as affordable as it used to be, according to a website called numbeo.com, which does track the cost of living for major towns across the world. As per that, an average family of 4 will need to spend about $4,500 per month as of October 2023 to live here in Waterloo. And hey, that's not even including the shelter cost. Now, if you had to add an average rent of let's say $2,200 or $2,300, might be somewhere around that, you're looking at close to $7,000 per month to live here in Waterloo for an average family of 4. We are not even, part of the Greater Toronto area. We are in fact 1 hour west of Toronto, and spending that humongous amount per month to live here in Waterloo just tells you how steep the cost of living has gone here. And that's what actually is making many people think twice before they make a move here, as it's no longer as lucrative as it used to be to move from a major town to one of the small towns, because the cost, you're not going to save a huge amount of cash flow by moving from one of those big towns to here. So if you're still making a move, well, I would say budget yourself appropriately to make sure you do not fall short on your monthly budget. Now, this one might catch you by surprise, but Waterloo, even to this date, is primarily a car-friendly town. Although we do have a good LRT system and the bus network that connects the Tri-Cities of Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, but when it comes to the frequency and the accessibility of those bus routes and the LRT, well, during the off-peak hours and the weekends, it can be a challenge to get you around the town using those public transit. So that's the reason why majority of the people living in Waterloo do tend to rely on car. And like I said, it is still primarily a car-friendly town. There's definitely some room for improvement when it comes to the frequency and the accessibility of public transit to make it rather a public transit-friendly town. We do get a fair amount of snow and cold during the winter months living here in Waterloo. So if you're a winter person looking to Waterloo as a destination, well, it's going to be a paradise. But if you're not a winter person, I mean, if you can't get yourself used to the cold and snow every year, then just like me, you're going to have to settle with a lot of snow and cold. Just find a way to deal with it one way or another. What I'm trying to say is it's pretty landlocked, as I mentioned earlier. So, what you might notice is compared to some of those towns along the Lake Ontario, on an average, it does snow a little bit more here during the winter season. And the winter airs can be pretty cold and crisp during those peak winter months of Jan, Feb. So just brace yourself up for a tougher winter if you're planning to move here in Waterloo. Living in Waterloo, you're gonna have to prepare yourself to be around a lot of student population. I mean, it's no surprise we are home to two major universities and a college right here in Waterloo. That being said, we do attract a fair amount of student population throughout the year right here in Waterloo. So there's nothing wrong or negative besides, a little bit higher noise levels at times and some parties going on from time to time in around those university areas, uptown Waterloo, some of those clusters. But other than that, it's just that many people moving from outside, they find it a bit odd to be around so many students. And that's just a fact that you will have to adjust yourself to eventually. And there are pockets where are very suburban and quiet in nature right here in Waterloo. So like I said, just adjust and accept to the fact that you will have to deal with a fair amount of student population being around when you are out and about in the town. The nightlife here in the town of Waterloo is very limited. I mean, your options are not that many, and the caliber and the quality of the nightlife and the clubbing options is not as good. I mean, nothing compared to what you find in Toronto. So if you're moving from one of those bigger towns like Toronto, well, I would say expect nothing close to that, what you're used to in Toronto in terms of nightlife. But hey, on the other side of that, within the Waterloo region, Waterloo is gonna be your best bet for any nightlife whatsoever in comparison to Cambridge and Kitchener, where nightlife is virtually non-existent. Waterloo will still give you some options. The only thing worth noting is that a lot of those clubs and the pubs are kind of geared towards the student population in comparison to the caliber of the clubs you see in the downtown Toronto. But obviously Toronto is a different ballgame altogether. What I'm trying to say is your nightlife options in Waterloo are going to be very limited. So if you're a big fan, well, you do want to think twice. If you are able to deal with some of the things I mentioned earlier, I can bet you Waterloo can be a great place to raise a family, and that's part of the reason why many families choose to live in Waterloo over Cambridge and Kitchener. But at the end of the day, your individual lifestyle and your priorities for you and your families are the ones to decide which town might be the right one for you guys to call home. Nonetheless, whether it's Cambridge, Kitchener, or Waterloo, be sure to reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or even schedule a Zoom call. All the info right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you guys make a smooth move to Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, and surrounding towns. Until next time, well, I do hope to show you around town.